appointment. That's how I understand.
All right. Have we eliminated 2 captains' positions?
We've eliminated 1. We used to have 3 captains. We have 2 now.
Okay. At one time we had 4 captains. Now we're down to 2.
Commissioner Green has done a remarkable job in the restructuring of the department.
Stand up, take a bow, Commissioner.
He's worked seriously.
He's turning very red.
Amazingly close with all of us in helping us downsize the command positions. And I got to give credit to the command union as well for working so well with us on that same effort.
Okay.
You said just 1, but I'll...
Well, you took a whole lot of my time up.
Okay.
Okay,
Gotcha.
Mr. Schimmel.
I hear you.
How long will it be before we actually see the contract here? What we have here are the highlights.
Well, you have the tentative agreement itself.
Okay. Leave of
That will
absence.
get turned into language at some point, and when that's turned into language, do you want me to make sure that you're one of the very first ones to get it?
Okay.
Glad to do so.
Well, certainly council should have it, but I know the firefighters didn't get theirs after more than 6 months passed, and
Well, I'd like to point out that the firefighters and the other unions, we have 2 other unions as well, that we're waiting on them to come back to us.
Since there's potential litigation, let's not go there.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, you
Number
were bringing
15.
it up. I just thought I'd respond.
Okay. Mr. Schimmel,
Yeah.
paragraph 15.
I don't have paragraph 15 in front of me, but go ahead. You mean item 15 on the...
Item 15.
Yeah? Mm-hmm.
Yes. Leave of absence language to be the same as ASME Local 1250. What is that language?
Leave of absence language in the 1250 contract provides that... Pardon?
It's the 6 months.
Yeah, the 6 month. The leave of absence language in the 1250 contract is the kind of language we want, and that's what we put into this particular contract. Commissioner Green has had occasions where someone will leave for no reason whatsoever for a year and a half, try some other venture, come back to the city and say, well, that didn't work, I guess I'll still be a policeman. And Commissioner Green, you can explain that better than I can. Whereas in the 1250 contract, they have to have a reason to leave, and they can only leave for 6 months.
Okay, so can it only be 6 months?
Right.
The difference is with the current budget concerns that we have, people can leave now for 18 months, and they can leave to go to law school, they can leave to open up a coffee stand, they can leave to take a different job and see if they like it. I can't fill the position for 18 months while they're gone. So if I have 5 police officers that do that, or 3 command officers, I got vacant positions that I can't fill, and I'm down to the bottom line right now, and I can't afford that. So this gives me the opportunity to have a 6-month window instead of an 18-month window, and to have part of the decision making as to whether or not we grant it.
Okay. My big concern here is the union has given up more and more as far as appointments to administration, and I think Mr. Fouts has more appointed positions than any mayor has previously, but if the union's willing to do that, I'm not the person to say otherwise. So 2 people reach an agreement. It's an arm's length negotiation, which I have to believe that that's what it is, between the union and the administration, and the membership votes on it. I'm certainly not going to tell the membership no. So the bargain the city has created, that the union has agreed with, I guess we go forward from there. Thank you, Mr. Schimmel, and I appreciate your efforts.
Thank you very much. Can I make one more comment, Matt, or would you like me to just get out of here?
No, I just wanted to see if there's any other comments from council members.
Madam Chair.
Madam Chair.
Mr. Comartin and Mr. List.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good evening, Mr. Schimmel.
Good evening.
I appreciate us getting the information in detailed form in advance. I know sometimes these things come up, but you took the time to put it together and get it to us as quickly as possible, and I do appreciate that very much.
You're welcome.
The other thing is, so we are looking at a 23% reduction in the command, which reduced 11, is that correct?
At least, yes.
11, and then that leaves us, if I'm not mistaken, 2 captains,
2 captains.
7 lieutenants,
That's correct.
and 16 sergeants?
Yes.
Is that correct? All right, and by this reduction, it's going to keep us on the path of keeping 144 officers out on the street.
Well, Councilwoman, that's exactly what we're trying to do all the time, is get these kinds of contracts settled so that we can keep 144 people on the street. That's entirely correct. I can't, we can't guarantee these things, but this contract, if I may say, does 2 things, and one thing I consider more important than the other, actually, is structurally the labor contracts in this city we're trying to deal with. I think, again, I don't want to go back to that newspaper article too much, but they seem to think I've been in hiding and I'm not living up to my slash and burn reputation. But I've been in hiding, working diligently, I feel, on these labor contracts because structurally they need a lot of change. And that's what this contract does. It brings a tremendous amount of language changes here and gives the commissioner and the people running the department greater flexibility in delivering their service. And they're not so tight and bound by certain rules and regulations, which quite frankly are outdated in these days and times. So there's a lot of language changes in here that are very, very helpful to the department in addition to the money savings. Did I answer your question? I probably got off again.
Yes, you did. You went a little over, but that's fine. I appreciate the hard work that went into the negotiation of this contract, and I do believe the most important thing is reducing from the top and keeping more officers out on the street, especially in this economy, and all the hard work that has gone into this and the ratification of this. So, thank you.
Mr. List?
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Councilman
I'm going to
List.
ask you some questions, but I'm wondering.
I'll really work on keeping it short here. I hear you.
Yeah, what's your favorite color? No.
Okay.
You
I
can-
like your white jacket. I told you that earlier. We got that out of the way.
I'll own it to you.
Okay.
Savings. What are we looking at in savings here?
We're looking at $400,000 approximately in the command unit. Do you want me to go on and say that if we had those? No, you don't.
Well, we're going to be dealing with that later,
Fine.
so probably silence is a better part of discretion at this point. That includes how many people in the union, in the labor, in that labor union?
Well, there's 30 people in that labor union at the moment.
Okay. And just as a side note, I forgot, I see that the president and the vice president of the union are here. I'd like to thank them for being here and thank them for calling me today. Who is going to be responsible to draft the final agreement?
That'll be done by our labor attorney.
Mr. Schimmel?
No, our labor attorney, Mr. Schiffman.
Oh, not Mr. Schimmel, Mr. Schiffman.
Right.
I don't think it's going to, I've got a suggestion because
You don't want me to draft it.
I don't really care who drafts it, so
Okay.
long as everybody's happy. But
I have. Never mind.
how are we paying Mr. Schiffman right now? Monthly? Are we paying him on a monthly basis or
Yes,
an
we
hourly
are.
basis? I know that the firefighters have a grievance against the city for an unfair labor practice because the agreement hasn't been finished.
It's in their hands at this moment.
Pardon?
It's in their hands. We're waiting for them.
For their response. There are an awful lot of labor agreements that I know that Mr. Schiffman drafts, and sometimes they don't get done quite fast enough. And what time frame are we looking at here?
Councilman, that was a very disturbing issue when I first arrived in this city, the fact that the contracts were all over the place in pieces. And
nobody had a copy of any contract.
Right. And I can only assure you that I put the metal to the pedal on all 7 or 8 union contracts, and most of them are now in the hands of the union reps, waiting for them to respond to the work that we've done. So I can't give you exact days, but I have pushed them into the other direction.
When I started serving on this council, I contacted the city attorney's office, and I contacted HR, and no one could give me a guarantee that the contract that they were sending me was the approved contract. I did get some tentative agreements and bullet points.
It is my goal to get them all online.
Sure, that'd be great.
As soon as possible.
Shipman submits a bill and the tentative agreement isn't finalized, I'm going to vote against it. It's payment.
Okay, that's, I'll tell them that.
Yeah, well, I see him in Royal Oak often.
I know.
I have a question for Mr. Green. When a police officer takes a leave of absence for, let's say, hypothetically, under the current contract, 18 months, don't they have to get recertified as an officer, as a police officer?
If they're gone for more than a year, correct?
Okay, so how many times has that happened that somebody's left for over a year in the last, I don't know, 5, 10 years?
Often. Maybe close to 10 times.
No.
It's more often than you think.
Okay. And they still have to get recertified?
If they're gone for more than a year and they're not in a law enforcement capacity, yes, they do.
Right. And that's up contingent on them to get recertification?
We send them back for, I believe it's a 10-day recertification.
We pay for that or they pay for that?
No, we don't pay for it. We send them back.
We send them back
It's
for
part of the requirement to
certification.
come back on board.
Okay, thank you very much, gentlemen. Answer all my questions.
Any further comments from council members?
Just more, Madam Chair.
Mr. Buckman?
To the Commissioner. Commissioner Green, with this contract, I mean, we've been talking for like, I don't know, 40 minutes now, but just so the public knows, in your opinion, how's Warren doing with our officers on the street and also your command office?
How are we what? I'm sorry?
Just sum it up for the people at home, because they've been listening for about 40 minutes, a lot of technical stuff, and I mean, are you confident we're going to be okay? We wake up tomorrow, our men and women are going to be on the streets protecting the citizens of Warren, and the command officers are going to be fine.
We're doing great.
Thank you, Commissioner.
All right. I just want to commend the administration, Commissioner Green, and the members of the union for getting this settled, and I know it's been over 2 years that they've been working on it, so glad we can move forward on this.
Thank you.
With that, I'll call the question. Mr. Liss?
Yes.
Mr. Sadowski?
Yes.
Mr. Stevens?
Yes.
Ms. Boat?
Yes.
Mr. Warner?
Yes.
Mr. Bacamino?
Yes.
Ms. Comartin?
Yes.
Mr. Green?
Yes.
Camp, yes. The motion passed unanimously.
Thank you, Council.
Thanks a
Madam
lot.
Chair, I'm going to move for a recess.
We have a request for a recess.
Or
All in favor?
aye.
Opposed? Council going to recess.